Okay.
Hello, how are you? This is Vanessa Ortali from the ladies community, and we are here on another online workshop. And today I'm bringing to you Kate. So, Kate is a professional comedian, public speaker. She has opened for Barbara Walters, Bill Clinton, and the debaters.
Yep.
And we are chatting today about how do you bring humor, lightness, and more fun into your life, and how do you take those concepts and apply them to different areas of your life to reduce stress and just make you a happier and better person. So welcome, Kate. Thanks for being here.
Hello. Thank you so much, everyone, for taking the time and hanging out with me tonight for this interview or for this webinar. It's my
Yeah.
first webinar, just so you all know. I've been practicing my tech all day. But today I actually want to explore with you guys how we can establish, cultivate, and keep connected to our work, our clients, our family and friends, but most importantly to ourselves, and how we can lighten up in doing all that. I travel all over the world and I teach people how to lighten up and not take themselves so seriously. There's a great quote and it goes like this: the thing I've learned in life is the difference between taking oneself seriously and taking one's work seriously. The first is disastrous and the second imperative. So let's just have fun tonight and explore ways of how we can bring humor into our lives and really learn to balance through that. But I thought I would just start off by telling you guys a little bit about myself. As you said, I am a stand-up comic and more importantly, a mother of three. My stand-up comedy goes something like this. I had to go to a parent-teacher interview. And I go in, it was this old British woman, and she said to me, she's like, "Miss Davis, I just want you to know that your daughter is reading extremely well." And I'm like, that is amazing, because I didn't read my first book until I finished high school. Yeah, she said, "No doubt." And then she said, "Well, what was it called?" And I was like, "Well, it was called So Now You're Pregnant." I wish I was kidding. So my first two kids are only 15 months apart, but I look back on that time and I can't believe I did it, but they were a gift to me and to each other. Number three came along 5 years later because quite frankly, I just didn't have the time or energy to be intimate with my husband anymore. Like, back off. And I always had this image in my head. I thought it'd be amazing, but I get home and I think as new parents, we go through a lot. For men, I think it's that overwhelming sense of responsibility of having to provide, of being protective. For women, for myself, everything changed. I get home, I'm healing. Everyone who was helping, and thank God for them, actually had to get back to their own lives. And as I'm alone with a newborn, I have to say survival of the fittest came to mind. I don't think the show Survivor should take place on an island or Guatemala. It would be hilarious in a new parent's home. Like between the diapers, the late night feeding, baby on your hip while you're trying to take a pee, between the orange wedges and the finger painting, taking them here and there, taking care of the older kids and the younger kids. I'm lonely, I'm exhausted, trying to take a shower and only getting one leg shaved. Yeah, it's very attractive. Just make love to me from this side with the lights out. Well, 5 years later, I felt like I had lost myself. And before resentment set in, I knew I had to rediscover who I was. So how do we do that? Well, to work or not to work could be my motto. I felt guilty for leaving the kids. I felt guilty because I had no idea what I wanted to do anymore. And I felt guilty because I wasn't contributing to the finances. What I did realize is that your guilt dissipates when you listen to yourself. I knew I had to let go of all the negative thoughts, like I should have a great career by now. I should have more savings in the bank by now. I should weigh 120 pounds by now. Yeah, the next time I weigh that is when I'm biodegrading. That is not happening. So I had to let go of all the negative thoughts. And once I did, I was able to be more present to the life I was in. So I accepted where I was. I was able to be more present to the life I was in. And that is when everything changed for me. Because I lived around the corner from a comedy club that I had to pass by every day to get to my best friend's house. So one night after putting the kids to sleep, which at this point was no easy task, they were about 2 and 3 at the time. And I don't know if any of you are moms or know this beautiful lullaby, but I love to sing it. Just lulls them to sleep. It goes, "Oh my God, go to sleep. Don't you think I need to die to myself? Go to sleep." I know some of you know it. So I put them to bed that night and I went into the comedy club. And as I'm there, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I could do this. Like I have so much to talk about because of my kids. Like I took them all, they used to always embarrass me. My kids are older now, but when they were younger, I took them all to the science center. There's a scientist there doing an exhibit on minerals. And he asked the kids, he's like, okay, kids, what do you salt for? And one kid's like, well, my mother cooks with it. Another one's like, my dad, he sprinkles it on the sidewalks. We don't slip. Yeah, my kids scream out tequila. I'm like, you've been hanging out with grandma too much. And I love this city. I love where I live. But honestly, the only thing I think Toronto needs just to make our city a little bit better is just one more Shoppers Drug Mart. Like, what does the matter with us? Are we itchy? What's happening? And the names of products are ridiculous. I came across new Ambition scented deodorant just for the ladies. When did a personality trait become a scent? Like, what do? You put that stuff on, you're like, hey, oh my gosh, I'm going to do stuff today. I'm getting off the couch. New Avalanche scented deodorant. That is the name of a natural disaster that kills people. You can't be naming your product that. What is that commercial? Avalanche deodorant. You'll never smell it coming. It's going to bury you alive. It's just wrong. Everything is weird nowadays. That's all I'm saying. My husband and I, we got life insurance, and I couldn't believe it. I was reading through our policy, and it says on our policy that we're not allowed to commit suicide for the first 2 years. Yeah, after that, we're covered. I couldn't believe it. I looked at my husband. I'm like, if things don't turn out the way we planned, one of us can take it for the team. And it ain't going to be me. I'm a chicken. I'll be like, kids, daddy's gone. But we're going to Disneyland. Oh my gosh, having kids is hard, but I do love it. And I do love my comedy. And I have to tell you guys, that night, I left the comedy club that night elated. Like, I had fell in love. Like, I had my first kiss. I truly found something that night that fueled my soul, that connected me to me, my truth, my passion, my calling, whatever you want to call it. I found that night at that comedy club. And we all have a truth. We have to recognize the truth. We have to live up to that action and own it. And look, we all know that saying, do what you love. Do what you love, right? Which is easy to say when you're a rock star. But when we're in the day-to-day grind, we often lose sight of that. How many of you wake up on a Monday morning and think, ooh, yeah, I'm going into work. Woo! Right? And I get it. Look, as kids, we were always taught that fun and work were opposites by definition, right? When we did what we wanted, that was fun. When our parents told us what to do, that was work. School was work, but recess was fun, but school was getting us ready for the real world. We were never taught that they can be the same thing. But doing what you love can be a huge contributor to you balancing your life. So how did we do that? Well, doing what you love is based on a knowing what you love. But if you're like me, I had no idea what I loved anymore. I was just going to work, coming home, taking care of everyone and everything else but myself. What I did realize is it takes a young, youthful, playful spirit. It takes us to lighten up, to not take ourselves so seriously so that we can find things that fuel our soul. And look, so many times it is hard for us to lighten up because so often we're afraid that we're going to lose our sense of importance. But lightening up allows us to take risks. It allows us to think differently, to communicate differently. It makes us more receptive where all great ideas are born. I can tell you it's not a surprise to me that stand-up comedy has fulfilled me so much. I was always putting on shows as a kid, telling jokes. What did you love to do when you were a kid? Before all the shoulds and the negative narratives in our minds. And try everything and anything. If you always wanted to act, join a class, join a community theater. If you always wanted to write it. It can be as easy as writing a journal or a blog. Just Google it. Try everything and anything. You might try something you always thought you'd love, and you might end up hating it because you aren't that person anymore. And it doesn't matter. It's about the process that allows you to connect with you and be more playful in discovering things that fuel our soul. So how do we do this? Well, keep producing, keep trying different things, but most importantly, we have to lighten up. We have to not take ourselves so seriously because I know we are serious adults. Do you know how many times a day kids laugh? Stats say about 300. Do you know how many times a day adults laugh? About 15. What happened to us? When did we leave Never Never Land? Laughter is a buffer between stress and its toxic effect, and laughter makes us kinder to one another. You know, so many stresses, so many issues ring true for all of us, no matter what economic background, no matter what ethnic background. I've traveled all over the world and I find just certain stresses. And I'll give you an example. Feeling like we're being heard or listened to is as old as caveman drawings. And I'll give you an example. Um, I don't feel like I'm being listened to a lot of the time, and nor do my kids. Look, if my youngest, her name is Maddie, and the only way to describe her is when she was little, she had Coke bottle glasses, crazy blonde hair, and a wandering eye. I know. I felt like I was living with a hillbilly, right? And one day she didn't feel like she was being listened to. And whenever she didn't feel like she was being listened to, she would scream like she was being murdered. And I hear my two older kids coming down to her one day. And I heard one say, yeah, we used to have a sister just like you. Her name was Christina. She had glasses like you and blonde hair like you. And she was really cute, just like you. And we ate her. And I come running down. I'm like, that is unacceptable. You are scaring her. You cannot be doing this. And another part of my brain, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, you guys are a genius. Because Maddie would never listen to me. I'd be like, get your shoes on, get your shoes on. And then I'm like, well, Christina would never get her shoes on. I know a few people out there are going to try that. Look, we don't know what we do. There are certain ways that we can bring humor into our lives. And it can be very delicate. Look, I grew up in the 70s. If we didn't listen to my mom, she would give us a look. And if we got that look, we knew she was a moment away from losing it, right? And this was the 70s. She could lose it. We'd be like, she's got that wooden spoon, run, right? And the whole neighborhood, because it was the 70s, would be like, get them. We'd no protection, right? We choose anger because we don't know what to do to get the results we want. And anger often manipulates others into doing what we want. At the time of anger, we're out of control. We've all seen the parent in the supermarket losing it, and the kids losing it, the toddlers losing it. What's our first thought? Oh my God, lady, get a grip. You're bigger than her. And then all of a sudden you aren't that mom in the supermarket. And you're like, oh my God, I don't even know you. But there are certain ways we can deal with stress, we can bring humor into our lives, and we can learn to balance both. And that's what I really want to work on today. How we can, twist our strength or our stress and change it so that we can be more viable in this world and have real coping skills on how to bring humor into our lives. So if we take all that, what we've talked about, usually at this point, I ask for a couple volunteers and I'm going to pretend I have them, but usually I ask them to do a little improv game with me. So how many of you?
I can try it with you. Let's do it.
Hey, okay. Right. But usually when we're bringing humor into our lives, right? So I'll give you an example. If we play a little improv game, right? And a lot of people do use humor. A lot of people don't. A lot of people think they're funny. A lot of people think they don't. So if you were to pretend, a lot of the times and you don't have to, Vanessa, but a lot of times I ask my actor, right, to take part, and I'll be like, you be the kid, you be the parent, and you're trying to get your kid to leave the schoolyard, right? And it's hard, and I ask them to do it by becoming a character other than themselves. And the one I find that works for me when my kids won't leave the schoolyard is an opera singer, right? So instead of being myself, I don't get mad. I just start singing opera. We have to leave now, we have to leave now. Is that your mom? Yes, it is, I'm going, right? Fun cancels out stress and brings everyone into the moment. My kids won't leave, I do stuff like that. And look, my kids are always embarrassing me as well. Like I took my daughter to the playground. She was about 4 at the time. And I was pushing her on the swing. And all of a sudden she started screaming top of her lungs, the air is tickling my vajayjay. And all the moms are looking at me and I'm like, oh my God, everyone knows way too much Oprah, right? And she's just screaming it every time. And I'm like, get off the swing now, because mommy wants a turn. Come on. Yeah, I got you there. No, right? Fun cancels out stress and brings everyone into the moment. How many times have you been you've been in a room or at a place and a group of people are laughing? What is our first thought? What are they laughing at? Everyone wants to be a part of that. Like a great workplace or a great team or a great community, it's about inclusivity. It makes people feel like they belong. Laughter is a buffer between stress and a toxic effect. It does make us kinder, but it wasn't created in a vacuum. It takes people to spread it. And a little levity, especially at work, can go a long, long way. There are so many health benefits to laughter. It increases blood circulation. It lowers blood pressure. It is a great ab workout. And how great do you feel when you've laughed so hard that you've cried? You feel amazing, right? Because all the endorphins that are being released, they have great healing qualities, and it is absolutely free. What do we deem when we don't laugh for long periods of time? We are deemed clinically depressed. That is what we are deemed. So laugh out loud. You know, people who laugh like this, it's like their laugh is stuck up their bum, right? So laugh, it is good for you. A little levity, especially at work, can go a long, long way. So Loretta LaRoche wrote a book, So Wear Your Life Short, Wear Your Party Pants. And she had 8 reasons why we can't lighten up. And here are the 8 reasons. Number 1, you're busy. You're never not going to be busy. The next time you're busy, it's probably when you're dead. So lighten up. Number 2 reason we can't lighten up. We're so afraid of what they might say. I don't know who they are, but they sure stop a lot of people for a lot of laughter. Number 3, the committee meeting. Many of us are filled with inner critics who want us to be terminally serious adults. Number 4, we need to be right. It's hard to laugh when we're always trying to prove a point. Number 5, we have a tendency to judge and criticize, especially ourselves. Number 6, we have too many rules and regulations. When life is a forced march, it's hard to chuckle. Number 7, we need to suffer before, during, after anything stressful. And number 8, we have too much ego. When we're overinflated, we can't laugh because we are afraid we will lose our sense of importance. So laugh out loud. It is so, so good for you. You know, there are so many things. There's a great book called Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl, and he was a Nazi concentration camp survivor. And after the war, he became a therapist, and he came up with a therapy called logotherapy, that through dignity, grace, and humor, mankind can survive anything. And I'm a huge believer in this. And he talks about putting a spin on what's stressing you. And I'll give you an example. I have a friend, she's the worst driver on the planet. And she used to commute every day, and she gets really stressed about it. Every day she gets in her car, she gets stressed. So to put a spin on what was stressing her, she started carrying around a clown nose. And every time she'd cut someone off in their car and they'd pass her by all angry and flipping her the bird, she'd actually put on her clown nose and be like, ta-da, because you can't get mad at a clown, right? So she was putting a spin on what was stressing her. So don't be afraid to lighten up. All those things, you know, bringing what you love back into your life, being a little goofy, become a character, write a rap song, sing it at Sunday dinner. How freaked out would your families be? If my kids don't help me with laundry, I don't get angry. I just start singing the blues. Well, I've done so much laundry because you have no underwear. And when I ask you all to help, all I get is a stare. Yeah. Yeah. And they're like, stop singing, will help. So all these little things, bring more games back into your life. I love playing games, and especially, you know, at your next staff meeting, you can play a little game of, you know, rock, paper, scissors, or broken telephone. There's a great company called Fair Play in the States, and they have a game called the Hound Dog, the Fireworks, and the Person. And it's almost like paper, rock, scissors, but you got to pick between the Hound Dog, which is her, right? And that represents like the real go-getter in you. The Fireworks, which is, and that's that awe moment. You know, everyone's doing it this way, but I feel like I want to try it this way. And then they have the Person, which is, how you doing, right? And a lot of times you can play the Hound Dog, the Fireworks, and the Person with people, and it just gets them out of that fun. Play it at your next staff meeting. Have fun. Play musical chairs at your next dinner party. You know, all these little things. You remember broken telephone, where you used to whisper in the ear? You could do a physical game of broken telephone where you come up with an action and a sound like a woo, woo, and then the next person has to do it, and the next person. And it just allows people to take the edge off, to lighten up, to not take themselves so seriously, and to feel a part of something. You know, it's so important. And all of a sudden, they find that people who bring more playfulness, and businesses that bring more playfulness into their day-to-day lives, are better problem solvers, they're more creative, and they don't burn out as easily. So bring fun stuff into your life. All these little things, as trivial as they might seem at this point, can really help us refuel, rebalance, and find joy in our lives, because we all know it's fleeting and it's short. So what I want to talk to you a bit about now is connection, how we're connecting so differently. Even doing this webinar for me, I feel out of sorts, out of my skin. Am I really connecting with people? And it's so important, because if we do look up the word connectivity, it is all computer related nowadays, right? It's platforms, it's systems, it's applications. But to me, that's why I love stand up and speaking, because it allows me to establish a real link, a real connection with someone or something. And we also do things like this because we want to be innovative. Innovation is to come up with new ideas or to change existing ones for the better, right? And but that always starts with that burst of creativity, and without that we couldn't bring new ideas to life. And it does allow us, to take different risks, but most importantly it helps build relationships, which leads to a deeper understanding of purpose. Because when we feel connected to someone or something, as we all know, it makes you want to help, it makes you feel inspired, it makes you want to create, it makes you want to be a part of something, like a great workplace, as I said before, or a great team, as in bringing humor and lightheartedness into your life. We all heard the Oscar speech this year when Parasite won and the entire cast got up. What did they say about the director? He never took himself that seriously. That is what great leaders are all about, right? They take their work seriously. Their their work ethics are amazing, but they never take themselves too seriously, because it makes people feel like they're working with someone instead of working for someone. So I want to share a story with you, because my husband and I, we were going to Vegas, and we were really excited because we were going for a friend's wedding, and a lot of planning went into it because we were leaving our 3 kids at home. And we get to the airport and we're standing by the kiosk, and it wouldn't print out boarding passes. So I was forced to go up to the guy at the check-in, and I'm like, look, it won't print out boarding passes. We're super excited. We're going to Vegas for a wedding. And he, checks the thing and he's like, oh, I'm sorry. We've oversold the flight. We're going to have to put you on standby. Now, the thing I don't have, I know we've all heard this before, but the thing I don't have is patience, because I have a teenager at this point. And I'm like, you got to get me on this flight, because I'm sick of hiding my booze in my coffee mug. And he's like relentless. He's like checking the flights. He's like, sorry, ma'am. He called me ma'am. And then I'm like, you don't understand. Like, my kids take all my money. They don't even pretend to like me. And my oldest daughter hates me so much right now. Her caller ID for me just says my dad's wife. I'm like, you gotta get me on this flight. And he's like, proceed through security. They will let you know at the gate. So we go through security, and I do what anyone would do in my situation. I'm like, look, I gotta go get a drink. So my husband and I, we go to the bar, right? Because now we gotta wait. And my husband is the opposite of me. He doesn't drink, he doesn't smoke, he doesn't eat meat, he works out every day. He is so gonna die first. You know what I mean? It's always the health nuts. I'm running a marathon. I'm like, I'm eating pizza. Anyway, and he's so calm compared to me. He's like, you know what? I'm going to phone Air Canada and I'm going to get to the bottom of this. And I'm like, oh yeah, you know what? I'm going to tweet about this. And I'm like, at Air Canada, you've oversold my flight. I'm going to miss a wedding, leaving the kids. Hashtag crappy airline. My husband is still on hold, hasn't spoken to anyone yet. Air Canada has already tweeted me back. At Kate Davis Convict, your ticket is by the gate. Hashtag great airline. And I'm like, at Air Canada, I think you should buy me a Michael Kors watch for my stress. Hashtag great airline. But I couldn't believe it. Not only did they connect with me immediately, but they connected with me with humor. Like, what are they, WestJet? Right? Like, it's so crazy. But it's true. Like, honestly, I couldn't believe how fast me tweeting at them got an immediate response. And we do. We want the newest, fastest, most stable connection possible. We want to know what each other's doing. Where are you? Send me an Insta message. Do you realize that there are over 200 million tweets a day? And it's probably more now. And if that doesn't resonate with you, that would be the entire Harry Potter series being published every 19 seconds. That is how much we are connecting. Unbelievable, right? But maybe that natural connection is just mimicking that connection we all know on some level is there with each other. So how do we get to that connection again, where it's immediate and it's full of eye contact without the LOLs or emoticons or any of that? Like, it's so interesting to me because we really do and you know what? I love it and I hate it. If something's bugging me, I can tweet about it. I can put it on Facebook. But then all of a sudden I have my mother calling me, right? Which is weird because she lives in my basement, right? And she'll be like, why won't you let Jaden ride his bike? And I'm like, how do you know that? She's like, it's on his Facebook wall. And I'm like, no. So a part of me loves it and a part of me hates it, but it is immediate and it is amazing. All those things. But really, how are we connecting with ourselves to really connect with others, right? A great way to connect with people is ask people, first of all, how do business people connect? They play golf. That's what they do, right? A great way to connect with people is ask people, what is the funniest thing that's ever happened to you? Because people love retelling their funny stories because it brings them right back to that moment. And a shared moment allows us to connect. And then we'll always have that moment, right? That's why you can bring back a joke with an old friend years later, and all of a sudden you're right back at that moment. People love retelling their funny stories, whether they're young, whether they're old. One of the funniest stories that I like to tell is when my husband and I first got together. Now I'm going to age myself because it was 1989, right? And we had first got together and I had this really crappy Nissan microcar. And we pulled into a gas station. And back then you had to take out your ignition key and unlock your gas tank. I don't know why, right? It was just the way it was. So I wind down the window. It was like that. There were no automatic windows. And the gas attendant comes over and he's like, keys, please. And I'm like, what? He's like, keys, please. I'm like, oh my God, I can't. My boyfriend, or my boyfriend's in the car. And then my boyfriend, who's my husband now, looks at me and he goes, he's asking for the keys, not a kiss. And I'm like, oh my God. I totally thought. And then my husband's like, would you have kissed him? And I'm like, maybe. I'm polite. I'm Canadian. He asked nicely. But then we all have those stories we love to tell. I have to share one more with you because I had someone at one of my conferences come up to me. She's like, I have to tell you what happened to me. And I'm like, what? And she's like, I was at the car wash, the in and out. They finished washing my car. I get in, I drive away. I'm like 2 blocks away from the car wash. A guy pops up from the back seat of her car who was still cleaning it. And he's like, oh my God. She's like, oh my God, I've kidnapped you, right? I'm like, I hope you bought him a burger on the way home. But so funny. Everyone has a funny short story to tell. Everyone has a funny story to tell. And it is a great way to open a conversation, to connect with people. And all these little things, again, putting a spin on what's stressing you, lightening up, be a little goofy, become a character, write a rap song. It doesn't matter what it is. All these little things can help us bring humor into our lives and keep us healthy, happy, and whole. If we're talking about connection, we're talking about connectivity, let's talk about really connecting with ourselves. And I want to talk about intuition for a little bit because your intuition will always lead to answers. And your fear and guilt will always lead to more questions. I never really thought about intuition a lot until I was a parent, I have to say. And I was in the lineup at the grocery store and my baby was new and fussing. And the woman behind me was like, oh my gosh, are you getting lots of advice? And I'm like, yes, to what kind of diapers I should be doing and how many times I've been feeding and what way the baby should be laying. And she's like, you know what, just listen to yourself. You're her mom. And I thought, what great advice. And as humans, we all have those spidey senses, and it's whether we choose or not to choose to listen to ourselves at those moments. There's a great book called The Gift of Fear by Gavin Becker. And the entire book is based on intuition. And he explains it so easily. He explains intuition like this. You move into a new house, right? The furnace goes off, the fridge goes off, your first night there's a creak in the floor, you're jumpy, you're like, is someone breaking in? What's happening? And then all of a sudden, a week or two later, you don't even notice those sounds, right? Because your intuition has gotten used to it. That is how intuition works. It picks up on something that is abnormal. And I have to say, as a parent, my spidey senses are going off all the time. And I'm honestly amazed I survived my childhood. Like, honestly, we did not have bike helmets or knee pads or stair gates or the little plastic plug covers you put in. Like, when I was a kid, we put our finger in the socket while our mothers watched. And my mom used to go, lick your finger, go on, lick it, lick it. And we used to get electrocuted. And then it hurt. Then we learned and we never did it again. Do you remember licking a 9-volt battery? I don't know if any of you had. See, you're a millennial. Of course you haven't, right? We used to love licking 9 volts. Because if you lick them, it like makes a volt on your tongue. And I said to my kids, they're just like you. I'm like, have you guys ever licked a 9-volt? And they're like, no, Mom. So that's what I bought them for Christmas. They were just sitting around the tree, just zzz, zzz, zzz. Yeah, my son's braces just started sparking. Anyway, super fun. Do it. Get yourself a 9-volt battery and lick it. But most importantly, listen to yourselves. Look, I feel like intuition is a very soft connotation to it. So I have here, I'm going to put my glasses on for this and read it to you, how business leaders use their intuition. So here we go. Here is the founder and chairman of Sony Corporation. He was asked in an interview, what is the secret to your success? This is what he said. He said he had a ritual. Preceding a business decision, he would drink herbal tea. Before he drank, he would ask himself, should I make this deal or not? If the tea gave him indigestion, he wouldn't make the deal. He's like, I trust my gut. I know how it works. My mind is not that smart, but my body is. So the next time you walk into a Sony store, or you're filming your kids with your Sony camera, or you're on your Sony computer, that is one man truly trusting his gut in every decision he makes. I think the next one has a lot to do with all of you. Here's ahead of Hewlett Packard. Engage your heart, your gut, and your mind in every decision you make. I think leadership takes what I call a strong internal compass. When the winds are howling and the storms are raging and the sky is cloudy, you have nothing to navigate by. A compass tells you where north is. When we're in a difficult situation, a lonely situation, we have to rely on that compass to tell you if you're doing the right things for the right reasons in the right way. And sometimes that's all you have. So just listen. How do we get in touch with our intuition? Just notice it. Just listen to yourself. We've all had those moments where we've had a feeling about someone or something, right? And then you don't listen to yourself, and then something happens and you're like, I knew it. We've all had those I knew it moments. So listen to yourself. It is so important. It is so important to connect with yourself that way, whether it's in your personal life or whether it's in your professional life. It is such a great tool to have in your back pocket for this life thing. And I have to say, and now I have a teenage boy, my spidey senses are going off all the time. I have to share the weirdest parenting moment with you. Oh my God. So I knew it, right? Spidey senses going off. My son is at a party. I go to pick him up at the party and I get there and he's wasted. Like, yeah. And I jump out of my car and I'm like, oh my God, you're wasted. You know what he says to me? He's like, yeah. But then I realized, I'm like, oh my God, you're high. And he's like, I'm not high. I'm like, you're high. He's like, I'm not high. I'm like, you look like you're concentrating. And my son doesn't do that, right? And he's like, I'm not high. And I'm like, all right, Mr. Not High. Answer me this one question. He's like, what? I'm like, just look at me. Look at me. How badly, huh? Huh? Do you want a Big Mac right now? And he's like, I'd love one, but I'm waiting for my mom to pick me up. I'm like, get in the car. And then we went and bought two. Anyway, so use your intuition. I don't know if that worked online, but I'm just saying, use your intuition. All these things are so important. And look, everyone deals with stress so differently. We all have a threshold. The Brits are amazing at dealing with stress. There was a British Airways flight that went off the runway at Heathrow Airport. Tires went flying, plane almost split in half. Half the British passengers on that flight didn't even realize that there was a problem with the landing. Like, how relaxed are you as a people that you don't know that your plane has just crashed. You're like, oh, totally good. I had no idea. Everyone deals with stress so differently. It's like that Monty Python sketch where they cut off their arms. It's like, oh, it's just a scratch. No, it's your whole arm. So everyone deals with stress differently, and we can choose how we're dealing with stress. And there was a great study done at UCLA. Well, first of all, there's a great book called Inner Peace for the Busy Woman by Joan Brzezinski. And she talks about the tending instinct. So there was a research done at UCLA. And what they found was the difference between men and women dealing with stress was, number one thing, men always wanted to be alone. Second thing, men were always crabbier or angrier about what was stressing them. When a woman is stressed, on the other hand, hormones are released, like oxytocin and all these great hormones that have a calming effect on us. And it makes us want, they call it the tending instinct, and it makes us want to nurture. It makes us want to take care of people. It makes us want to bond. And I thought, wow, how many fights could I have avoided with my husband if I knew he was acting the exact way he was meant to be acting, right? But when we use humor in those moments, it can really connect us and really change the trajectory of where the conversation is going to go. You know, like honestly, like my husband is always on his phone and it drives me insane. Even if we're out for a nice romantic dinner, he'll have it under the table, right? And I know he's texting and I'm like, oh my God. And it just stresses me out. I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, nothing. I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, nothing. I'm like, your chin is glowing blue. And then I reminded him there is a 1-letter difference between wireless and wifeless, right? There are ways we can connect, right? Everyone deals with stress so differently. So if we can bring humor into those moments and really connect with each other on that way, like, look, we're all grown-ups on here. Like I'm always having to tell him what to do, even in the bedroom. I'm like, just throw me down and have me, right? But once I tell him to do it, I don't want him to do it because I'm so pissed off that I had to tell him to do it, right? That's what we do as women. We tell you to do something that we don't want you to do. You know why? Because we tell you to do it. So I came up with a perfect solution. I actually put a suggestion box outside the bedroom for fun. I'm like, throw me down and have me, signed anonymous. Yeah, it totally worked, guys. That's all I'm saying. Put a suggestion box outside your bedroom. If things are bugging you, it can really make it fun or spice it up. Because then my husband's like, I want an Xbox. And I knew it was from him. Doesn't matter. Everyone deals with stress. Okay, so for the last little bit of this, I really want to talk about refueling and how we're taking care of ourselves because we're busy in between, you know, just our work. If you have kids, your family, and our aging parents. A lot of people are taking care of their aging parents now, and we're jugglers. And the first ball to drop is usually our own. So I said at the beginning of this, once I let go of all the negative thoughts, I was able to be more present to the life I was in. And that is when everything changed for me. And I'm a huge believer in affirmations, and what we're putting out there comes back, and our thoughts affecting us, you know, and our state of our mental health, which is why humor is so important in all of this. And I'll give you an example. Like I have one friend, oh my God, every time I talk to her, this is our conversation. I'm like, hey, Karen, how's it going? This is me and my phone, guys. It's a flip phone. Doesn't matter. I'm like, hey, how's it going? She's like, oh my God, I'm sick and I'm tired. I'm just tired of this. I'm tired of that. I'm just tired. I'm just always tired. I'm tired of this person, tired of that person. I'm just tired of my life. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired. I'm just tired. What do you think she's always going to be? She's just going to be tired. That's all she affirms. I have another friend. Oh my God. I don't even know why I'm friends with her. Her name is Cassie. And oh my God. Maybe you know a Cassie. Maybe you are a Cassie. I don't know. But this is Cassie. Every time I talk to her, I'm like, hey, Cassie, how's it going? She's like, oh my God. Oh my God. Bad things always happen to me. I'm like, oh my God, what happened to you? Are you okay? And she's like, oh my God. I overslept and missed my train. I slipped on the sidewalk in the pouring rain. I sprained my ankle. I skinned my knee. I broke my glasses. I lost my keys. Bad things always happen to me. I got stuck in a train. It wouldn't go. I kicked twice. I stopped it till I bought it and it wouldn't ride. I took it back and had a fight. Oh my God. Bad things always happen to me. What do you think is always going to happen to her? Bad things. So be nice to yourself. A great thing I learned that I heard somewhere is wear a rubber band, right? And put it on. And every time you have one of those little negative thoughts that you don't want to have, twang it And eventually, if you're like me, you'll have a lot of negative thoughts and you'll start to change because you don't want to twang it anymore. And I do. I had so many negative thoughts about myself. So I decided to do affirmation work. And I'm a huge believer in this. And I found it really helped balance my life. And I wrote everything out in negative I thought about myself. Like my nose is too big and my bum's too big and I'm a procrastinator and I'm not good enough. And if one of you said one of those things to me, I'd scream. But I can say it 20, 30 times to myself a day. So what I did, I wrote everything out in negative. And look, I know my nose is big. It's because I'm Jewish. Like you guys couldn't tell, look at me. I'm not even a good Jew. Like I love bacon so much. I didn't even know we couldn't eat it till like a year ago. I'm like Jew light. Okay, I'm diet Jew. I'm Jew zero. With my kids, I'm like, you're Jewish. Now go to bed. Santa's coming. My husband is a better Jew than me, and he's a Catholic. Okay, I got one more Jew joke, and then we'll move on. Because I realized I raised a worse Jew than myself. Because someone came up to my son, and they're like, look, there's this free trip you get to take to Israel if you're a Jew teen. I'm like, oh my God, you got to go. You know what he says? He's like, oh, I don't think I can go because I haven't been baptized. That is a bad Jew right there. Worse Jew than me. Anyway, look, we have to be nice to ourselves. It's all about loving ourselves, right? That's it. It's just about that. So I'm going to take a sip of water, and then I'm going to tell you my last story. It says, be awesome today, guys. That's what it says. Okay. So it's all about loving yourself. Let go of those negative thoughts that are holding you back from what you really deserve to be, which is at peace and joyful and healthy and all those things in your life. And all these little things that we've talked about along this way, along my first webinar, can hopefully help you with that. So I just want to share a couple more stories with you really quick, because I was at this little black dress, black tie event. And there's about 300 people there. It was at this beautiful resort called Chateau Montebello. It's in northern Quebec. It's beautiful, a little haunted, but lovely. Anyway, so I was there and I get up and I was just doing comedy and honestly ended up being one of the best shows of my life. Like people were laughing and crying and pounding on the tables. It was amazing. Except for these 4 women who were sitting near the front row who hated me. Like cross-armed, stink-eyed, who the hell let her on stage, hated me. And I became obsessed with them. Like I couldn't understand why 296 people were loving me, laughing, and these 4 women just hated me. And I was not in the moment anymore. And I was so obsessed with these 4 women. I missed all the laughter. I missed all the love. I missed all the applause. I was so obsessed because as a comic, as a speaker, I want you guys to love me. Everyone wants to be loved and validated and all those beautiful things in life. And they just hated me. And I was just losing it. And honestly, like I got a standing ovation that night. That never happens in Canada, right? And we were so tight with our standing ovations. We're like, that was not good enough. And it didn't even matter because I was so obsessed. I missed all the love. I missed everything. And I had to know why they hated me. So I went up to them after the show and I'm like, look, did I offend you? What happened? Why were you laughing? You know what they said? We don't speak English. That is what they said. And I vowed at that moment to always focus on the people who were laughing, who did love me. And that can go for everything in our lives. There can be 100 beautiful, incredible things going on in our lives. And we're always so focused on that one negative thing. So focus on the positive. So focus on the positive and express to yourself that same compassion and kindness that you give to others. Give it to yourself. Humor can really help connect us with our purpose, with ourselves, and with each other. So lighten up. Don't take yourself so seriously. As I say this super seriously. So lighten up. Don't take yourself so seriously. It truly is a great gift and a great tool for all of us to have. Whether it's becoming something other than yourself, bringing what you love back into your life, keep trying things, be lighthearted about it. Maybe you'll try salsa dancing, maybe you'll try painting, maybe you'll try being a speaker. It doesn't matter what it is. Bring games and playfulness back into your life. Laugh. Ask people, what is the funniest thing that's ever happened to you? Just smile at people. It can just start with that. I talk to everyone, and my husband's like, you know them? I'm like, no, but I do now. Make a connection with people. Put a spin on what's stressing you. All these little things. Use your intuition. All these little things that we've spoken about today can really help us be nicer to ourselves and really contribute to our lives and the lives of others. I have to tell you, I love doing what I do, and I thank you so much for watching me in this webinar and letting me do what I love. So thank you.
Woo!
Yay! Oh my
That's
God.
so fun. That is so
Oh,
awesome. Thank
oh,
you
thank you
so
so
much.
much.
That was
Oh,
truly unique, and I love hearing your spin on humor, and it needs to be a mantra of mine that I just bring more humor and fun, because sometimes I take shit so seriously.
yes.
And hearing your stories and everything, it just really reminds me
Thanks,
to be
Vanessa.
more lighthearted. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.